What is life coaching? Life coaching is working with someone to bring about their best potential, to really reach within them and show them the tools that they already have. They already have all of these abilities, but sometimes people need to be reminded of the power that they have. So life coaching allows you to be the facilitator, to work with someone to help them access those things within themselves that they have that are going to really enhance their lives and get everything working. So rather than life coaching being psychology or psychiatry or counseling or hypnotherapy or NLP, it can be all of those things depending on your qualifications, or it can be none of those things. Sometimes life coaching is just working with someone to get them to improve their lives in general. And sometimes just having someone to answer to causes us to do a little better. Have you ever noticed that if you want to do something and you have someone to answer to, you have someone who's waiting on you to do whatever it is, that you tend to do it a little more precisely, you tend to finish it on time, you tend to do it a little better, you tend to have that little extra bit of nervous tension, if you will, that really helps out, that really helps to make sure you stay on track. If you're doing something and nobody's expecting you to have it done anytime soon and you're just kind of hanging out and doing it whenever, whether it's education or a project of any kind or building a building or anything at all, if no one's expecting you to do it at any certain time, well, it may get done whenever, and you may be okay with that. Or you may feel that nagging in the back of your mind. It may kind of pull at you, but maybe you never quite get around to doing it as quickly as you'd ultimately like to. But if you tell someone, hey, I'm going to finish that on May 1st, please hold me to that by reminding me of my deadline, then just by doing that, it gets easier. Because then you get the distinction in your mind of, well, I have to get this done. Someone who may not even care about the building or whatever it is, someone knows that I told them that I will have it done by May 1st. So I better get on the ball. I better get going. So my point is that sometimes life coaching is just being there for someone else, just being the person who gets told, okay, I'm going to do this, and then being the person who holds that person responsible for actually finishing it and allows them to stick to the task. So the value in life coaching comes from the fact that you are there. You're there for them. And the value doesn't take on any particular flavor or color or any particular element necessarily, but it's going to be the thing that makes the difference for them. The value that you bring to the table with coaching is going to be what makes the difference. But it's not necessarily going to be in any set form. It's not necessarily going to be a spreadsheet that you make up or a chart where you're checking off things that they're doing. It's not going to be necessarily any one thing. However, it should be specific. So what I'm saying is it shouldn't be any one thing across the board. For example, you always have a checklist or you always have a bar chart of progress. It doesn't have to be one thing from one client to the next, but there should be some measurable, specific value that you bring to the table, and it's going to be different each time. The reason for that is that people's needs are going to be different each time. They're not always going to be the same need. Person A is going to need something completely different from person B, and person C may come completely out of the blue. They may need something that you've never even thought of helping someone with. So the value that you bring to the table is going to be the value of helping them stick to it, making sure that they knock down those barriers in any way possible, and making sure that they finish that project, whatever it may be. And it's not necessarily going to be the same thing. You may become an expert in helping people finish projects as a life coach, but maybe the projects are going to be different each time. Or maybe you just become an expert at helping people figure out what they're going to do, but what they're going to do is different each time. So my point is that your job is going to be a little vague sometimes as far as an overall job description. But in each moment that you're working with a client, it should be very clear for each client, but perhaps very vague in general. Perhaps what you do isn't exactly clear to outside people. If they asked you to define what you do, well, overall you just help people. But they may say, well, what specifically do you help them to do? And what you'll probably say is, well, I help them to do whatever they want to do. That's what a life coach does. You help them to do whatever they want to do, which could be different depending on the person. So, as a life coach, you're going to have a lot of fun working with a lot of different types of people, helping them accomplish a lot of different types of things. So let's look at how people benefit from life coaching. Life coaching is a wonderful gift to give to someone. Of course, it's not going to be exactly a gift because they're going to be paying you for your services. But the benefits of life coaching are very much like a gift because you're going to be helping people finish things that they never really thought they could finish. Let's face it, when someone gets to the point of hiring a life coach, they're really at the point of almost giving up. It's almost the last thing before leeches, I like to say. They're trying to cure something in their lives, and they've tried pretty much everything. One of the last things that at least a lot of males want is for somebody else to come in their lives and tell them what to do. You know, men in society were trained to make things happen and to get it done and to hire someone to help us. Well, that's almost like a cop-out. It's almost like we're saying we can't do it. So when someone humbles themselves to that point, especially a male, humbles themselves to that point and says, wait, I'm not doing this myself. It's not going to happen. Well, that's when they get some distinctions. That's when they start to realize, hey, wait a minute. Who said life coaching is a bad thing? Who said I'm weak if I hire a life coach? I'm going to hire a life coach. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to get on with my life. So they go to that point of thinking, no, don't need any help. And then rather than giving up, they try one last thing. They say, all right, I'll hire a life coach. And whether it's a male or female, understand that they've come to that point where they've humbled themselves. They said, this is not happening with me alone. I need some help. So the benefit of life coaching is to help them get over that hump, to get them out of first gear, to get them going, to get them moving forward, to get them out of stagnation. So many people get caught up in stagnation, stay there for a long time. They stay there for most of their lives. Some people stay there their entire lives because they never throw in the towel. They never say, hey, I need help. Hey, could somebody help me with this? I'll pay you. Could you help me with this? Some people never get there. But when they do, the benefits are immeasurable. The benefits that you will be bringing to the table are beyond measure because they're going to go beyond the situation. Let's say, for example, you help someone build a business. Well, that business is going to benefit thousands of people, potentially hundreds of thousands of people, perhaps millions of people over the business's lifetime. Businesses can last several human lifetimes, and they really never do necessarily expire as long as the people keep them going from generation to generation. So you never know the extent that you'll be helping. Let's talk about preparing yourself to be a coach. My guess is that you are one of those people who's been leaned on in the past. People have come to you and said, hey, can you help me with this? And you finally got some distinctions. In your mind, you said, wait a minute now, these people are coming to me, asking me to help them, and I've been helping them. Why don't I formalize this in a program like this one? And why don't I start charging people? So congratulations. If you've finally made that choice because that's the way your life has gone, you've been helping people and you decided, hey, I'm worthy of getting compensated for this, then I applaud that. And I've found myself in that situation also. I was a young boy when I discovered that I wanted to be a hypnotherapist. I was in my teens, fairly young, and I decided that I wanted to become a hypnotherapist and help people because even at that age, I was in military school and other kids were coming to me with their problems and saying, hey, can you help me with this? And I thought, wow, now I have a way to help them. So I became a hypnotherapist. Then I started practicing NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and I added life coaching to the mix, and it just blossomed from there. But I was one of those people who people were coming to, even as a teenager, for help, and I realized that I wanted to be able to help them better. And once I became an adult, I realized, wait a minute, I can make a living at this. So preparing yourself to be a life coach sometimes is nothing more than acknowledging that you are worth money. The advice you give is valuable. There should be a price tag on it because you are benefiting other people. It's not as if you're just saying things and people are doing things and that's that. You're saying things, people are doing things, and they're benefiting from it, and other people are benefiting from it, sometimes monetarily. Sometimes they're making money from what you say. So there should be a price tag on what you offer. People look at professional ball players, baseball players, for example, and they see all the millions they're paid. Well, because of that baseball player, fans are coming to the stadium. They're buying season tickets. They're paying a lot of money. That ball player is actually only getting paid a fraction of what he's worth because he is the reason that these people are coming to see the ball game. So as the rock group The Who says, it's the singer, not the song, that makes the music move along. So you are making a difference. So you are already ready to be a coach. And now it's time for you to formalize that. So I applaud you as you move forward. Let's talk about communication. Communication is very important in coaching. If you're one of those people who I just described, who's always given help to your friends and you've always been there for everyone, then you realize what communication is all about. You realize that you have to talk to people, you have to get their feedback and so forth. And you realize that there has to be a give and take, back and forth. I talk, you listen, you talk, I listen. But if you're not used to helping people in somewhat of a formal capacity, then communication may be something that you need to work on, maybe something that you'll want to boost up a little bit. So what I did when I first realized that I was doing life coaching and I was doing hypnotherapy, but I was also doing life coaching, I realized that I needed to get better at my communication in general. So I started taking classes from Toastmasters, and you can go to Toastmasters, all one word, toastmasters.com. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I don't get a kickback from them or anything like that. But I went to Toastmasters for probably about 2 years when I lived in Los Angeles, and they helped me tremendously. They helped me understand communication. They helped me understand communicating in front of groups, mostly because it's about giving toasts, giving speeches. And it really helped with my communication. It helped me organize my thoughts. It helped me create programs like this, because when you go through Toastmasters, you learn how to deliver dynamic presentations, and you learn how to do it in a way that really communicates your point and keeps it interesting, keeps it fresh, keeps it moving along. And you're going to find that whether it's one-on-one or talking to groups, communication is the key. Communication is very, very key to everything that you're doing. Another program that I took, some people have mixed feelings about this, but I enjoyed it, was Landmark Forum. Some people look at it kind of like a cult, actually, because they think that you have to go there and not say a word for 4 days and so forth. But if there's a Landmark Forum in your city, and if you're not opposed to it, you don't have to do this, but if you're not opposed to it, and I'm not associated with them either, I've been through their program, but I don't get a kickback or anything from them. But Landmark Forums are great because you learn about communication, and you learn what you've been doing wrong in communication. You learn how you've been thinking you're saying one thing, but really not. You also learn about your own personal nonsense that's been going on, that's been holding you back. As a coach, you're going to want to clean up your own backyard. You're going to want to get your life together as much as possible because you're going to help other people do that. You don't want to help someone and have them see your life in disarray and start pointing out problems in your life. You want to have things as organized as possible. So I recommend taking advantage of this. Let's take a look at what you're going to be doing. You're going to be creating value. Creating value, you're going to be creating monetary value in some cases. Some people are going to come to you and they're going to pay you, and they're going to expect an ROI, a return on investment. And if they don't see it, they may very well stop working with you. So sometimes the value you're creating is going to be measured in monetary terms. They're going to say, hey, I'm expecting my business to increase 10%. over the next year? If it doesn't, guess who's going to be no longer working for me, okay? So sometimes the value you create is going to be measured very strictly. But in many cases, the value you create will not be one-to-one. It won't be as if you spend 1 hour with someone and they'll expect to make $100,000, for example. It will be something less tangible than that. In most cases, that's what's going to happen. Sometimes you're going to get the people who really want to get a bang for their buck, and if they don't, then they're going to move on, and that's okay. I want you to be okay with that. But sometimes what's going to happen is that you are going to be creating value that's going to be a little less easy to perceive. It's going to be something that's going to come out over time. They're going to eventually see the value, and that's okay. I don't want you to feel that you have to push it in their face and say, look, I did this for you. I created this value for you. Don't you see your relationships are flowing more smoothly and you're going to the office on time and you're not arguing with your wife or your husband anymore? Don't you see that? I don't want you ever to be in a situation in which you feel that you have to sell what you've been selling. You're already selling them your time and your coaching. You shouldn't have to sell them on that. They should see the value themselves. Sometimes what's going to happen, though, is that people will stop working with you because you're the first job to be eliminated, really, when you think about it. You're a luxury. You're an extra in their lives. You're the first thing to be eliminated if it comes down to money. However, sometimes what you'll find is that years later, they'll realize just what you've done for them, and they'll hire you back, and they'll tell their friends, and your reputation will grow even more. So the value you create is going to be both tangible and intangible. So I want to introduce you to the coaching model. The model that you are going to use is going to be goal-oriented. You want to make sure that you have goals in mind. Now, we'll get to that in a moment, but it's important for you to understand that there must be structure to what you do. When you work with people, you're going to work with people who lack structure. That's why they're coming to you. They are unable, at least in their own mind, to get their act together. They're unable to organize everything into a way that's meaningful and is moving forward. They're lacking something in their lives. And none of us are really above this. We all, from time to time, need to reach out. And sometimes the further along you go, the more dependent you become on other people. So, an example from my own life. I have an assistant, a personal assistant who's also a business assistant who handles pretty much everything for me. If I didn't have my assistant, I don't know where I would be going or what I would be doing, but I'd probably be walking around in circles. So my assistant in many ways is like my life coach. And a great assistant is going to really be an organizer for you and a facilitator for your future growth. And a great assistant has a plan, has everything structured. So whereas I tend to be more fly by the seat of my pants and okay, this came up today, let's handle it today. My assistant's job overall is to take all the stuff that's going on in my life and organize it, make it make sense, and schedule it and get it on some kind of routine. And that's your job. When you're a life coach, you need to have a plan. The person you're going to be working with is going to be a lot like me with my assistant. It's going to be as if I am the person who's coming to you and you're the assistant. As the life coach, you need to come in with a plan because that's what's lacking in this person's life. They don't need just someone to talk to and tell all their challenges to. And by the way, I like to use the word challenges instead of problems. Wherever I catch myself, I always rephrase it as challenge because problems sound insurmountable. Challenges sound fun. So you're going to be the person with the plan. You must have a model. That model must appeal to the person you're working with. And that model must be something that they don't have. If they already have a time to get up and time to go to bed and that's what you're coming in with, well, you're not helping any. You need to come in with something they don't have, which is even more structure and goals. So goals are an important part of the model you'll be using. You need to have goals for them. What are the goals? That's what you need to set out right away. The first time you work with someone, I want you to get those goals out. What is it that they want to do? Why are they even working with you? Why have they hired you? What are the goals? They've got goals. What are they? Get them out. Get them on paper. Don't just have vague goals. Have specific goals. Put the goals down. Once you list them, then you can look at what you're actually going to do. This is the most important step in life coaching, because this is what it's all about. Is the goal for them to make $1 million next year? Is the goal for them to build a house? Is the goal for them to start an organization? Is the goal for them to just be more organized in general? What are the goals? I want you to list them. Just write them down. And once you have them, then you can share them with the person, and you're both on the same page. They're coming from the person, but you need to capture them. What's going to happen, in my experience, is that in most cases the person will be talking to you and talking to you and talking to you in the first session, and they're not really telling you anything specific in most cases. Now, some people have a very regimented format they want you to follow, and they know exactly what they want. And those are the ones, by the way, who usually measure whether or not they're making return on their investment. But in many cases, they're just going to have a bunch of stuff going on in their lives. And, maybe they decided to quit smoking this week, and maybe they're getting married next week, and maybe they're starting a business the following week, and they need to help. They need to get you to help them make it all make sense and make it all work. So the goals are usually things that you need to listen for as they're talking, telling you what's going on. All this stuff is coming at you, and it's going to seem like, my goodness, this person has a lot of challenges going on. I don't know about this. It's a lot of stuff. But if you listen, you're going to hear the goals. You're going to hear what they're really after. Usually, people are after very specific things, and usually they don't even know it. Usually, they have a target that's very vague, and they don't see the real target. They see this fuzzy target in front of the real target. Once you show them the real target, they say, oh, okay, you're right. That's it. That's exactly what I want to accomplish. So listen for the goals, and once you think you've got one, feed it back to them. Make sure it actually is a goal. And the way you do that is to say something along these lines. What I'm hearing is that you would like to accomplish this. And if they say yes, then you write it down. Write down the goals, 1, 2, 3, or 5 million goals, or whatever they are. Write them down. That's what you're going to work toward. And then it's time for a confrontation. They need to get very clear that where they are is not where they want to be. So it's confrontation time. It's time for you to confront their goals and for them. It's time for them, mainly, to confront where they are and to realize that certain things have to change. And this can be a big challenge because sometimes people want to have a life coach and have that life coach make out everything just work out, just a magic wand, everything works out. I come across this in hypnotherapy all the time. People come in, they're overweight. They want to just have me say some magic words and for them to have the weight melt off. But really, losing weight is a combination of two things. 1, eating less. 2, exercising more. Sometimes they don't want to hear that. So I have to work that into hypnosis where they get excited about exercise. But it's confrontation time. It's time to take a good hard look and say, okay, I'm here. I want to be there. I've got some walking to do. I may have a mountain to climb. I may need some mountain climbing gear. This is going to happen. It's going to take some time, but they need to be clear. There needs to be that point of confrontation where they understand that they are not where they want to be, and it's going to take some work. You also need to confront yourself and make sure you're up for the task. Sometimes people are going to throw before you a pretty big challenge. They're going to say, hey, I want to do this. And you're going to look at them and you're going to think, you want to do that? I don't know. I don't even know if that's possible. You're going to be there. You're going to think that. Trust me, it's going to happen. You need to look inside, realize that this person has put faith in you. They've hired you to do this job, to make it happen. So you're going to put your best foot forward. And when I say make it happen, I don't mean necessarily that you must make it happen. You are going to facilitate getting it done. You are never responsible for the result. Understand that. The responsibility lies with the client. It's their responsibility to make it happen. It's your responsibility to make them make it happen. But if it doesn't happen, realize that you have no direct control over that. You're not reaching into their lives and doing it for them. You're inspiring them to do it. You're motivating them to do it. You're encouraging them to do it. So if it doesn't happen, it's not your fault. Be okay with that. But confront yourself and realize that it's a challenge. Sometimes it's a huge challenge. Sometimes it's a challenge that you don't think is going to work out. But you look inside and you say, this person hired me for a reason. They have faith in me. I have faith in them. I have faith in myself. I have faith in the process. They have faith in the process. Let's move forward. And then you move forward and you make it happen.